What comes to mind when you think of Soulsborne games? The deep lore and iconic characters in beautifully crafted worlds? The sense of exploration that keeps you engaged for hours on end? Or do you think of this?
I just can't. Everything is just fucking goddamn fucking up right now, man. I can't move because my thing's not reloading. The guy jumps over the fucking king. I can't fucking move. I'm fucking getting fucking. Fuck! God damn it! Fuck!
Constantly watching people lose their minds and some of their self-respect when they fall victim to these games will make you question their mental health. And rightly so. Because why would anyone want to put themselves through mental torture by banging their heads against the same wall over and over and over again, hoping for something to change? A never-ending cycle of insanity. But that's only looking at it skin deep, because there's way more to that. It's the sense of accomplishment of finally overcoming overwhelming opposition through trial and error. And I didn't fully grasp it until beating my first Souls game. So join me on this journey as we discuss a 6-year-long struggle with the Soulsborne. So I've had a love-hate relationship with Soulsborne games ever since Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, my first Souls game. And that ended with me giving up halfway through because I just couldn't take the constant beatings from bosses and non-stop bullying from regular enemies. The parry system kept eluding my reaction speed by a split second, where I would get a face full of dirt as the enemies put me in the ground when I so much as looked in their direction. Or questioning my sanity when I could have sworn I dodged their attack, only to still get smacked by them, leaving me smeckledorfed. Little did I know that I picked one of the hardest Souls games to jump into, so I hung my sword up in shame, thinking this game was utterly unfair. Sometime after that, I found myself in the world of Dark Souls 3 as I traversed the treacherous trenches of Lothric. And even though I had an easier time than I did in Sekiro, it was all in vain, because after only 60 hours of fighting all the way to Irithyll, only to find out that I needed some random door to enter before getting put in the dirt yet again by some angry Pokemon, I took that familiar walk of shame as I gave up once again. Years later, Elden Ring catches the gaming community by storm. So of course I bought the game, not knowing it was by FromSoft, the ones who led me on this masochistic mission of misery. And after being introduced to the Tree Sentinel, that faint but familiar sense of fatigue began creeping in the dark corners of my subconscious, letting me know the kind of day I'm about to have. But unlike the games before it, Elden Ring gave you a bit more leadway. Instead of banging your head against the wall until it eventually breaks, it allows you to come back once you're a little stronger. Unfortunately, I found myself walking away from several different walls. But when I came across Margit, the Fell Omen, it was clear that he wasn't just going to let me walk away. If I wanted to progress further, I had to push forward. Long story short, I made no progress that night, nor the next night, or the night after that. Every time I walked through that dreaded fog, a piece of my sanity dissolved with every loss, until I hovered over the delete button, wanting to just end it all. But like pulling the plug on a loved one on life support, I couldn't bring myself to do it. So I told myself that I don't have to beat the game. I just have to beat Margit. No more, no less. And after 2 more days of trying and failing, the ominous omen finally fell to my blade. The moment he retreated, I stood there alone and silent, the only sound coming from the heaviness of my heart beating as I waited for yet another challenge. But nothing came, but the slow realization that I finally won as I screamed out all my fear, my failures, and my frustrations. It's a miracle that I didn't get a noise complaint from my neighbors that night, but in that moment, nothing else mattered. That feeling of overcoming impossible odds gave me more than a sense of relief, but a sense of clarity and confidence. And the next day, I went after the Tree Sentinel with a calmer mind, and after a few tries, he too went down in defeat. I've played many games throughout the years, but none have forced me to learn patience and to remain calm in the face of imposing opposition. It's natural and perfectly normal to feel anger when suffocated with frustration, and while it heightens our senses, it also clouds our judgment. As we all know, nothing ends well when we're led with anger, often making the situation worse with no solution in sight. And the Souls games capitalize on that vulnerability, forcing you to control your emotions throughout its boss fights, pushing you to take your time through patience and perseverance. And the more I traveled in the lands between, the more obvious it became. Of course, I would still get angry enough to punch the nearest baby, but never to the point of giving up the journey. Well, except that one fight with Rykard.
It's supposed to be a fucking RPG. What role am I playing? The fucking victim? Jesus fucking Christ!
Eventually, I struck down the final boss, the Elden Beast, before he got nerfed. If you know, you know. But as I took Ranni's hand in marriage and became her king consort, my victory felt hollow. It felt incomplete. I couldn't celebrate my conquest here, knowing I ran away like a coward long ago. So I bid Ranni farewell and made my way back to the kingdom of Lothric, preparing for Miyazaki's signature bullshit. By this point, it was no longer about simply beating these games, but the principle of overcoming challenges, no matter how difficult they get. It's about learning from your mistakes and adapting accordingly. It's about taking a step back and seeing the problem from different angles. It's about pushing forward instead of giving up like a game journalist who claims games are so unfair because they can't get past a tutorial segment. For those on the outside looking in, we look like masochists who get a sadistic satisfaction from the severity of losing our sanity to a mere video game. And you'd be right if it was about the game. Some of my friends are into kickboxing, and they've told me you can usually tell what kind of person someone is based on how they fight. Are they calm and collected, usually waiting for an opening? Are they reckless and hoping to end the fight quickly through brute strength? How do they handle winning? How do they act when they lose? Body language tells you almost everything you need to know about someone. And I apply that same logic to gamers based on what they play. Soulsborne games aren't something you just jump into like Mario Bros, but you learn to love it as you get lost in the handcrafted worlds and characters like you would in Final Fantasy. And if you have the patience and mental willpower to finish a Soulsborne game, in a way, that tells me that you're not one to walk away when things get hard and life wants you to simply cry in a corner somewhere. Of course, it sounds like I'm reaching because they're just video games at the end of the day. But how people react to challenging opposition tells you who they are as a person, at least on the surface level. And because people usually have a hard time pretending to be something they're not 24/7, it holds a little weight in that assessment. I carried that logic with me as I took on Dark Souls 3. From waking up in the dusty and depressing cemetery of Ash, to committing unforgivable sins on the Cathedral of the Deep, I fought and failed my way past the cold, desolate city of Irithyll, and I scaled the highest mountains of Archdragon Peak. And despite the mental and emotional frustration from each region, I marched forward until I reached the kiln of the First Flame, where I came face to face with the soul of Cinder.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
But when he charged at me like a madman, my legs shook with doubt and excitement as our swords clashed. With every swing of his sword, every thrust of his spear, and every spell in his arsenal, it made my blood run cold with fear until that blood was spilled on the battleground, reminding me that I was still alive to keep fighting. But the more I fought this force of nature, the greater my odds were. What was first a fight for survival became a death-defying tangle of danger and tension, our only audience being the fallen warriors around us, on a stage that would soon become his grave or mine. But after days struggling to end each other's existence and my sanity, he too fell to my blade, like all those before him. And while I didn't scream in joy from winning the fight, I surrendered myself to a moment of quiet solitude. I finally overcame something that hung over me like a dark cloud of contempt that wouldn't disappear. Finally, it was time to take on Sekiro once more. But by this point, I achieved Super Saiyan status from the non-stop struggles of Elden Ring and Dark Souls. And as dramatic as I would love my rematch with Sekiro to be, it wasn't that difficult, beating the game in just about 30 hours. Though the bosses were difficult, I beat most of them within 3 to 4 tries. Except for the giant bull, because I can never hit him without getting slammed to the ground or getting trampled in the corner. While I was playing Sekiro, he was playing Monster Hunter, and that felt like bullshit. You know, now that I think about it, getting jumped by those 2 apes wasn't fun either. How do you fight off 2 apes in a dark cave where no one can hear you scream? You can't.
Oh my gosh, let me run! Let me run, please! I don't want to be here! I don't want to be here! No!
But aside from that, I didn't have too much trouble throughout the game. Even Isshin Ashina, the Sword Saint, was defeated after 4 tries. And he was wielding a sword, a spear, a gun, and even lightning.
Oh my god.
Oh. Oh, you don't know how long I've been waiting for this, bro. I've waited 6 years to do this. It's finally over. It's finally over.
Do it!
I'm done. The nightmare is over.
Done. Sekiro.
Oh my god. I'm finally free from this fucking game.
It's ironic that the very game that put me on this emotional roller coaster will be the easiest part by the end of it, coming full circle in a way I never expected. But it was finally over, and I had nothing left to prove. Souls games are just built different. Never have I played something that made me look at life differently and how I approach opposition. At the end of the day, Souls games aren't difficult because Miyazaki gets off from your misery. They're meant to teach you to learn from your mistakes, and that failing isn't failure unless you give up. In their own special way, FromSoft shows you that no matter the challenge, your victory is around the corner as long as you keep pushing forward through patience and perseverance. And even though they're just video games, what you learn from them can be applied to your everyday life. If a game can teach you anger management skills, there's nothing you can't accomplish in life. Well, that's all I had to say for today. But I want to know your thoughts and experiences with Soulsborne games. Are you a longtime Souls veteran, or are you taking that first step on the journey? Feel free to share. And if you enjoy your time here, please feel free to like and subscribe and join the conversation as we discuss various topics in gaming. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.
Never in your life tell me I'm not him. Never in your life tell me I'm not that dude.
Let's go, baby! Yes! Yes! 100% girth! No misses! All hits! What's up? I am the Elden Lord, baby! It's me! Never in your fucking life! Never in your life put disrespect on my name again! Oh, it's over. I'm done.